All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Live Long podcast today. So, my name is Erin Hunter, and I am the senior editor here at Live Long Media. So, I'm thrilled to be chatting with Cathi Lamberti. She is the founder and CEO of SMARTfit, which is a company creating very innovative technology and solutions to improving long term cognitive health and keeping your brain sharper for longer. And so today we're going to be diving into the brain, neuroplasticity, the amazing new technology that exists, and what you can do to start encouraging a healthier, better brain to age better. So, with that being said, Cathi, I am so excited you're here today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I'm happy to be here.
So, one thing I would just love to know from you is, do you do any daily practices to work with your brain and improve your cognitive health just on a daily basis?
I've been in the business for most of my career, right? And we've created this incredible technology that enhances neuroplasticity and just cognitive health. But at the end of the day, if someone says to me, what is the bottom line thing you have to do? I say, stay engaged with life, stay engaged with people, with family, with a sense of purpose. That's your number one thing. And because that gets you out of bed with ideas and ways of connecting with the world. And I would say if I didn't have a high sense of purpose, or if I didn't have people that I loved and cared about, and if I didn't have a sense of me contributing to the world, I would have depression, isolation, and those things end up in lack of exercise, and that is your decline. The other one is if you've retired or thinking about retiring, change gears. Don't back off and stop because it's a recipe for decline. The brain is it's like muscles. If you say, well, I want to have a great body. I want to have a healthy, strong body that can get me through life. Well, the only way to do that is to exercise and to do strength training. The neurological system is the same way. Your brain and your neurons are the same way. If you don't demand of them, and if you don't call on them for higher purpose, then they won't rewire. So just like strengthening your muscles, you strengthen your neuro system every day.
I like that you have to call on your sense of purpose to strengthen your neurons. What's yours? What's your sense of purpose?
Oh, it's the creation of this technology that it's been a tough journey for me. Our technology works in the opposite way to all the other technologies out there. And it's been difficult to do, really, really difficult to do. And I'll explain that in a few minutes. But the bottom line is that if I had a faint heart, this wouldn't have gotten done. It would never have been done. And my sense of purpose is that the technology we're creating for brain health for older adults, it's life changing. It's changing lives. And no matter how hard it is, when I see the people, like I'm here in New York, and yesterday I was at the Bristol um, assisted living facility, a gorgeous facility, doing amazing work with seniors at risk and using our technology and seeing how it's changing their lives. That is the sense of purpose that gets me up and dealing with the difficulties of creating this company and the difficulties of the day.
When you say you're bringing this technology to, so you mentioned the Bristol. Is that like an assisted living facility?
Yes, it's a very high end, high quality, high care assisted living group. I think there are 26 of them around the New York area. And they do amazing work. And they've been working with our technology with their residents and getting wonderful results. So as a result, they asked me to come to New York. And I was with them yesterday for their ribbon cutting event.
Because so one thing you mentioned is that you were using the technology with folks, older adults who are at risk and who are showing those signs
Yeah.
of cognitive decline, what, I feel like there are common symptoms we always read about where you lose your keys, or maybe you're feeling a little slower sometimes in your thinking. But in your opinion, what are some of the overlooked symptoms that people are experiencing that we might not even be thinking about that suggest we could really be training our brains more and starting to work that more to prevent something definitely more serious down the line?
Okay, here's a really easy way to look at it. Um, at what stage, ask yourself, at what stage did you start putting money aside for your 401k? People mostly start early and they save money for their 401k. What is that? They save money for their retirement, right? Okay, so what about brain health? There's such a thing as a cognitive reserve, and it's like a bank account, and you start young, and the more you demand of your brain in different ways, and I'll tell you a few key ones in a few minutes, but the more you demand of your brain, the more you stimulate your brain and your neurological system. It is the 401k plan for your retirement because you build in cognitive reserve. And then as your genetics start to drop off, this second fuel tank kicks in and carries you further. It is why professors of universities and musicians, dancers, why they can keep going. Um, you've got these amazing musicians who are now in their 80s and 90s still doing shows. Why? Because because they've got cognitive reserve. But every one of us can build cognitive reserve early. It's like a 401k plan for the brain.
That as a young person, you know what the hardest part to hear about that is? Oh, but I can wait till later. Why would I start now? It just is one of those things though. And
And
for for folks who, I think as we get older, we start to take into
yeah,
consideration a lot more of these things as you're approaching the
yeah.
risk of losing it becomes higher. And so when you mentioned earlier something that I always think about, which is staying engaged with life is really important. But what does that look like? Does that mean exercise? Is that like your traditional, does that mean
Okay.
engaged, like diet? Like that, mm,
Look, yeah, look at the stats. Okay. When, especially in the last century, when a man would retire at 60, 65, high percentage of them would be dead in a few years because they would like tap off. The most dangerous thing about the word retire, it sounds like sit back and relax, right?
mhm.
No. If you sit back and relax, you're going to stop demanding of your brain and your body. You're going to sit and watch TV and play bridge, maybe if you're lucky, play bridge, or just sit and watch TV and maybe drink too much and just be bored. That is a recipe for decline. That's the bottom line. So, retirement should mean changing gears, changing gears. And if you've saved enough money and you have good cognitive reserve, that means you're going to live your best life. So retirement today should mean my opportunity to live my best life. That's the most cool thing about retirement. We have a stigma about old age. Like
Mhm.
people go, oh, I was talking to that person. She's really old. I think she's like 62. And I'm going, I've just turned 71 today. And I'm still living my best life.
Woo! Yes.
Okay. So the issue is attitude. What is the attitude? If you think you're going to tap off, you worked really, really hard all your life and you're going to tap off. No, no, no. That really working hard maybe gave you fortification, it gave you wisdom, it gave you strength. Find a way to be of service. These kids coming up today don't have the wisdom of the baby boomers. Us baby boomers had amazing freedom when we were young. We were the biggest creators, the wealthiest creators, and the most innovative generation of all time. Don't shut it behind the doors and retire. Get out there and stimulate these young kids who are spoiled to death, who don't know what to do. So my sense is stay engaged, contribute back to life, help humanity wake up, So that's my approach. I'm not retiring for another decade or two, so that's the plan.
So that, it also makes me think about spirituality a bit, and the idea that
Yes.
mindset and having this sense of purpose, it makes me think that you have to, not religion per se, but it's this idea that you have to find something deeper in order to look at hard work. And you said all the hard work, you want to retire and be done with that. There has to be a certain level more of want to make hard work seem not like an intimidating thing, but something that you actually strive to do. Does that
Yeah.
is am I understanding that a little bit?
I've been studying religion and spirituality all my life. Okay, that's how I
Mhm.
had to find purpose because I grew up in a very strict religious family, and I had a hard time buying the doctrine and the rules. And so I did some background research and I started to realize that most religions are patriarchal and they are geared with rules that keep people in their place. And with my creativity and my freedom, high sense of freedom, I just couldn't buy that. So I studied all the Eastern religions and the ancient religions, and I discovered that a large part of Christianity, the early writers of the Bibles, a lot of those Bible books were left out of the Bible when Constantine became a Christian. He was 230 AD. He became a Christian and formed the Catholic Church, which then he called the conclave, and they decided what they would keep and what they would eliminate. And anything at that time, a lot of the writings, you'll find Thomas's books are not there. Some of the women who wrote their books are not there. And any book that called on us to go inwardly to find our own wisdom, our own inner spiritual connection, they were all eliminated. So therefore, one has to look at and say, okay, what was the purpose of traditional religion and how that doesn't work for me? Oh, and by the way, when I go into my inner self and I connect deeply inside, there's so much wisdom there, there's so much connection, and the spiritual guidance that I get has created SmartFit.
Has it
So,
has so how does that yeah, like that's such a good transition into then technology, which is seemingly kind of other, but you've then you're creating this technology for cognition, brain health. So
yes.
what does that look like, and why did you decide to form the technology the way you did? And can you explain what it is actually? Because that would just be
Okay.
great to know too.
You remember I said most technology is heading one direction and SmartFit moves in the opposite direction.
Mhm.
I explain. So if you think about, say, the last 250,000 years, Homo sapiens were evolving, right? And
Mhm.
what happens with an evolving species is they want to survive. Okay, so how do you want to survive? You have to eat, you need shelter, and you need safety. So there's a threat out there. You got a problem. You assess the problem, you make a plan, you make a decision, and you go and solve the problem. So you use your brain to assess, plan, make a decision, and then you use your motor system to solve the problem. Okay, I got to build a hut, or I got to use a spear to kill that guy, or I've got to go and find some food. Okay, so the relationship between thought and movement has evolved. Thought and movement, it's in our DNA. It flows naturally. You hardly even are aware of the fact that every movement you made is preceded by a thought and a decision. And some of it is so fluid. If you think about an athlete like a soccer player taking the ball down the field, okay, cognitively, he's got to score a goal, he's got to assess where the enemy is, where his teammates are. He's got to make a decision who to pass to get the ball to the goal. Can he do it? Must he pass it, etc. And All of that's going on in his brain and he's executing skillfully with his body and his motor system. Okay. So that is brain body. It's called dual tasking, cognitive motor, this beautiful relationship, right? I
Mm.
say it's like the brain is like the conductor of an orchestra, and all the instruments of the orchestra are waiting to be demanded of. And the skills, your motor skills, your skills that you engage in life with, those are the instruments of the orchestra. Okay. So what is so important here is this incredible relationship. You learn as a baby to start rolling, you start kicking, you start crawling, you start doing these movements, you start looking in the direction of sound. It starts from the time you're born and it goes on all your life. So that's cool. But what has interfered with it? Technology's come along and it said, man, humanity, you need your thoughts and your creativity, but give that machine the job to do it. So we have more and more transitioned to sitting and letting machines do the work. So
Mm.
this incredible relationship of the conductor and the orchestra, all the parts of the body executing neurological skills, demanding rewiring every single day, improving the wiring of your neurological system to perform in life. We're giving a lot of that work over to technology. And now with AI, we're going to do that a whole lot more. So this is scary. What is scary is the relationship between your thinking and the excellence of your motor system and your body to take you through life is being undermined. So what is SmartFit? It is a technology that makes your body the input device. So instead of when I say we go upstream, instead of the machine doing it for us, we have to drive the machine with our bodies. And that's the SmartFit technology. We have to play these games using problem solving, decision making, executing efficiently with our motor system. And that is a technology now that helps us maintain this relationship.
So it's using your motor functions. I'm pointing up this way, I'm bending down this way, and it's basically training your brain to be like, "Oh, I'm going to wake up again." And with every time I move, that brain's going to remember, "Oh yeah, I need to fire because this needs to happen,
Yeah,
this task."
right. So the technology is designed to work with very fragile people, people with dementia, Alzheimer's, um, uh, in wheelchairs, who've lost a lot of their capabilities. But we also work with training quarterbacks in the NFL
Ooh.
to function at high performance. Can you imagine the pressure of a quarterback at the end of a Super Bowl when he's got 7 seconds to make the winning goal, right?
Uh-huh.
The pressure, they all exhausted. They are mentally and physically exhausted, and they got 7 seconds to win the game. How clear thinking must that quarterback be to execute perfectly to get that final try and win the game? That's what we also train for. Because training the brain and body to work together efficiently can be for extreme high performance. It could be for young policemen who are in a very dangerous situation where they might overreact and shoot too many bullets at the wrong person. We're seeing that happen all the time. And it might be for a child with autism that just doesn't have a free flowing connection between thought and movement. And it could be for absolutely every one of us who want to build cognitive reserve so that we can have our best lives after retirement.
I think what I'm wondering and what I'm trying to piece together in my mind is the idea that by using this technology, by syncing, by basically syncing your body's movements and your brain, how does that create sharper thinking though? How does that
Oh,
trigger the
sure.
neuroplasticity?
So there's two things that go on in the brain. Number one, neuroplasticity means the creation of new neurons. Okay, and it's questionable to what degree you can create new neurons, but you've got about 7 trillion of them already, so it doesn't really matter. What does matter is you want to wake up what you've got and you want them to connect. So we focus more on neuroconnections.
Mhm.
Okay. You could have a very good generator in a house, beautiful house, like best architect house, and a beautiful generator, and very poor wiring throughout that house. Do you think you're going to get that house to shine brightly and run all the instruments and all the features of that house? The answer is no. And so having weak neuroconnections is where you get the dull performance. So like developing your muscles, if you exercise your muscles and your demand of those muscles, they will grow and give you strength. The same thing with your neurons. If you demand of your neurons with a connection of thought, problem solving, and movement skill building, that forces, and this video, you can get it on the internet. There's now got video of the little neuro connections. They like jiggle, 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 and then they connect and then they start to shine bright and they vibrate like that and they get stronger and stronger and stronger. It's beautiful. So, what we all want to be doing is creating new neuro connections, strengthening them, and then making them super highways. So instead of having a little current running through them, the more you practice, the more it's called myelination. You create like the more you practice on a neuron, the stronger it gets. It myelinates. It becomes like the coating around electrical wiring becomes
Like
like,
the plastic red stuff.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so the more you have that, the faster the information can flow. So it's like more electricity. Okay. So
Mm.
that's why a highly trained athletic quarterback who has to use his brain a lot in the game, they look like really switched on people, And
Mm.
you can get, yesterday I met a 90 something year old lady. She was so bright. And when she got on the SmartFit system, she was a wizard. You could see her mental processing was like this. It was so fast. It was faster than I could do. And I went, here's a 90 something year old in an assisted living facility that can perform neurologically better than I can. What does that
Mm.
tell you? It tells you that you're never too old to train your neurological system. That's the most exciting thing.
And
You,
so when you're working with folks who are older, do you have, and maybe it's even observational studies, but are you seeing that people are able to train their brains and after a certain amount of time, they're actually showing signs of better memory, signs of better walking? Because if your brain is firing
Absolutely.
more, your body's moving better. So,
Right.
what are you
Yeah,
seeing?
we have studies. The University of Buffalo did a study that just published it last year, where they took our equipment with seniors who had never exercised, mostly African American who'd never been to the gym, and they did a 12-week program with them. One woman with a walker who was just terrified for the first month wouldn't let go of her walker while she was doing the exercises. By end of 12 weeks, she threw the walker away and is shopping in the supermarket unassisted. I witnessed a man who had a stroke. He hadn't used his left arm for about 18 months. In a matter of 15 minutes, he was using his arm. There are there are switches that go on when you demand of your brain in a certain way. There are switches that go on and it just happens. I've had people calling me crying, just saying, thank you for what you did. Thank you for what you've done. That's what gets me up every day. I have a purpose. I can help people.
That and it's through the brain. It's
Yeah,
is it so from an aging and longevity perspective and the idea of one of the biggest fears in life is losing your identity, which is losing your ability to think in your brain.
yeah.
As we start to wind down here, can we talk about what training your brain could look like for longevity and what it could look like not only on an individual level, but kind of on a societal level? I mean, you said you're bringing this
Mhm.
to facilities where a lot of older individuals are living, and there's often not necessarily healthy incentives beyond, basic exercise or
Right.
pickleball or, so can you just let's talk about that real
Yeah.
quick.
So for the first thing I think we all have to address is our food.
Mm,
We have to stop eating the sugars and the grains. They are causing inflammation, and that inflammation in the brain is terrible. I think statin drugs are extremely dangerous. If statins were
statins?
good, if statins were good, why would heart attack be the biggest killer? And why would every hospital have a major? Statins don't work, but they also reduce cholesterol, and the brain needs cholesterol. It is made up of cholesterol. So we're looking at a lot of the mainstream solutions that are not healthy, and the food system is not good. So if we can switch more to um, if it looks like it came from a farm, you're probably in good shape. And if it can be organic, you're in better shape. That's really the approach, okay? Because that will reduce inflammation. And inflammation drives heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and cognitive decline. It is the
Mm,
biggest cause of cognitive decline. So look at the diet. Number two, exercise. It doesn't matter what exercise you do, but strength is so important. You must have stability and strength. And then you must exercise your brain. So the science says when you exercise your brain and body together, especially um, in a dual task where you
mhm.
train the motor system and you problem solve like the SmartFit, the transference to real life situations is very, very fast. That's why we've seen stroke patients get better quickly, etc.
Mhm.
So where do you go for a smart fit? Well, the YMCA's are getting them, and your Parkinson's people are going to YMCA's for group training, and it's working. Um, and then also the city park and rec departments are now getting our systems and offering group training. So I would say ask your local rec department or your local YMCA if they have it, and then you can get into a class and do it. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, actually.
Because training the brain, technically it is fun, isn't it? Because when your brain's engaged, that means your your attention's focused on something, and that
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
is rewarding. Isn't that kind of like a
yeah.
dopamine hit? Like you kind of
It,
want to be focused on things?
Yeah, it's more than a dopamine hit. Number one, it is a dopamine hit, right? Number one, you feel better because of the endorphins, but it also releases BDNF, which is like fertilizer for the brain for creating new neural pathways and strengthening the brain. So then there's irisin, these neurotransmitters, serotonin, norepinephrine. They are all what they call the happy hormones. It's like, yeah, no wonder you feel good after you've done it. But because SmartFit is gamified and the games are like 30 seconds long, it's like, ooh, I can do that again. I'm gonna see if I can do better. So the key is practice, practice, practice. So it gets boring to do 30 reps, rest 30. It's really boring. But if you play a game for 30 seconds and then you try and get a better score and you play it again, you'll find you play that game 20 times. And all that time, you're strengthening those neural pathways.
It's
So
like
it's
when
a double win.
Pac-Man was really
Yeah,
popular in Pac-Man competitions, people would want to
yeah.
you want to keep playing to get a better and better score.
That's it. That's how it works with our equipment. It's real fun.
So
Yeah.
last question I want to leave you with is what so you said your birthday's today. Happy birthday. But what what is the importance of having fun and celebrating for the brain? Because I have to believe that we have to enjoy life, right? Like what can you just tell us why? Like give us a reason why we literally need to enjoy and celebrate?
Wow. Why would we want to live if we couldn't? You know, I gave a talk last week and I shocked everyone. I said, if I had a great brain and a body that didn't work, I probably wouldn't want to live, you know. But I want a body that can get me around. I want a brain that can have the freedom to travel in my imagination ability to communicate with people, the ability to love, you know.
Mhm.
I think every elder adult has regrets about their early times. This is the time to think about those and forgive. You know,
Mhm.
if every older adult just spent 15 minutes a day forgiving all the judgments they've had on themselves and other people they love, there would be a sense of peace that would come in that would just make the life so much more worth living. You know, give up the resentments, give up the regrets, forgive yourself, forgive the judgments, forgive them, forgive him, forgive her, you know, and get them out of your consciousness so it's freed up to play. Because part of our consciousness gets taken up with every resentment, every regret, and every judgment. So why take that to the grave? Heck, they're not worthy of it. Throw it out and live your best.
Bye-bye. Say bye-bye. It's hard because the brain holds on to negative things. And so
It doesn't
you,
have to.
it doesn't
It
have
doesn't
to.
have to. You can hold that thought in your mind for 30 seconds and then change it. Decide to love it, to take what did I learn from that? Wow, I grew from that. I learned this lesson. Wow, it actually gave me value. I'm going to forgive it and be grateful for it. And you let it go. You
Wow.
don't have
It's a
to.
practice. It's a
It
practice.
is. It is. But it's a practice to freedom and a practice to peace.
That's really beautiful. That's a really beautiful way to end this. I think that's beautiful wisdom for life too. I mean, we
Okay.
talk about longevity, but you want to live a good long life. You don't just want to live long. I wouldn't want to hate someone for 30 years. I mean, that's no fun, and even I don't think anyone wants to, but you have to bring it to your consciousness in order to
Yes.
say bye-bye.
Yes. Yes. And so many people want to be right and they hang on to being right, but being right hurts. Throw it out. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Throw it out. Take your lessons, be grateful, and get it out of your mind so your heart can open.
That's beautiful. Thank you. That's fantastic. Okay, amazing. I appreciate you taking the time to come
Sure.
here. And I'm gonna do so much reflection because I think it's just there's a lot of food for thought there. I mean, pun intended, like
Yeah.
because of the brain.
Organic food.
Awesome. But Cathi, thank you for joining us here
Yeah.
and thank you for sharing everything with the Live Long community. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great being great with you, to be with you here. It was fun.
Thank you.
Let's have fun.
Amazing.
Okay.